Hello and welcome to tonight's live training. Tonight's live training is all about word of mouth as a marketing strategy. We're going to talk about why word of mouth is important, the 3 benefits of word of mouth, a couple of ways to use word of mouth marketing, and if we get time, we're going to do a little bonus section on how to 5 times your word of mouth impact with user generated content. So that's what we're going to cover tonight. My name's Andy Crook, and my mission is to help garage owners become more successful in business. One of the ways in which I'm doing that is little live videos every week where I discuss a topic for between 10 and 15 minutes. What I found when I was trying to improve my business is it wasn't big things I needed to change. It was lots of small things. And it was deciding which small things to change first that made the biggest difference. So hopefully something that I'll discuss along the way will be a little thing that you can change in your business and achieve what I call atomic success, which is the smallest particle adding up to making the biggest change. So on to tonight's subject, word of mouth marketing. So I don't suppose I need to explain what word of mouth marketing is. I think everyone knows what it is. But do we know why it's so important? And that's maybe a different question. So when I first started in business, and this is quite some time ago now, as a consultant rather than running a sort of an automotive business as I do now, all of my work came from recommendations. It all came from word of mouth. As a consultant, I was recommended. I found my exposure in doing work and doing articles at the time was from the readership recommending me then to other people, etc., etc. So I know the power of word of mouth marketing, and what I discovered was it is the surest way to build and grow a business. It is the most rock solid foundation you can have, is a steady stream of recommendations. So I think a lot of people find themselves when they first start out in business that is how they start to win and keep customers. It's basically all to do with word of mouth. And when I started my tuning business, I was quite proud of the fact that I didn't advertise. How stupid was I? Because what you can do is you can improve, or you can increase the impact of word of mouth marketing by using adverts and various other marketing methods, and we'll talk about them later. So what I want to get into first is why word of mouth marketing is so important. Well, 80 to 90% of customers trust companies that have been recommended to them by friends and family. So I'll say that again. 80 to 90% of customers trust companies that have been recommended to them by friends or family. So that is a massive, massive leverage for winning customers. So what do you need to do to be recommended? Because it sounds obvious, isn't it? Well, what you need to get any recommendations, to make word of mouth marketing work for you, you need a great product or service, and the customer that's going to recommend you must have a positive experience. Because what that will then do is drive them to recommend you, and that will increase your profits and allow you to grow. So it all starts with your product or service. If that's good, you stand a really good chance of getting recommended. And the next thing that you need to build on that is a positive experience for that customer. So are we, one, providing a great product or service, and are we focused on that positive experience? So that's why it's important, and that's what it requires. What does word of mouth marketing not require? Well, it doesn't require SEO, search engine optimization, because it doesn't even require a website. But we'll come back to this later. It doesn't require a high Google ranking. It doesn't require a social media presence, because it's simply word of mouth. It's one person telling somebody else about your services, about their positive experience with that product or service. So For word of mouth marketing to be effective, three things have to be in place. It has to be timely. So the person that's being recommended to must be looking to use your services in the near future, otherwise they'll simply forget. The person recommending them must be credible. Yeah. By credible, I mean they must know what they're talking about enough or have experience of your service, or, rather than just saying something. And it the relationship they have with the person they're recommending to plays a major part, because if it's friends or family, your social reputation's at stake if you recommend somebody outside of your social or friendship group. So to be to be recommended requires quite a bit of sort of a trust in the service that you're going to provide. So it's quite deep when you start looking at it at that level, but that's what goes on. So what are the three major benefits of word of mouth marketing? Well, I'm tight. So the first benefit I'm going to give you is it's free or low cost. So word of mouth marketing tends to be the lowest cost marketing that you do. So it has the highest return. So that's obviously one reason for engaging or asking your customers to engage in word of mouth marketing. The second benefit is it generates loyal customers. Customers who will return to you time and time again. Because if you think about it like this, if they're willing to recommend your services, they must be willing to use you themselves. So it generates loyal customers. That act of recommending reinforces the relationship they already have with you. And the third reason is the customers you will get will be similar to the customers that recommend you. Because birds of a feather flock together, which means people basically hang around with people like themselves. So if you have a particular demographic that use your garage, the chances are the people who use your garage will hang out with people like that. Therefore, the recommendations you get will be for people who you already know, which, and that if that's your actual ideal customer, happy days, isn't it? That's a great reason for word of mouth marketing. Now, if you compare that to other forms of marketing, whereby let's say you go out and you're dropping leaflets in a neighborhood, okay? You don't know, other than if you do some targeted marketing, which would be slightly different by looking at what cars were on their drive. So if you were for example, a BMW specialist and you only put leaflets in houses that had a BMW on the drive, that's probably going to be more successful than just putting leaflets in every house. Because if you're looking for like-minded customers and they've had a great experience at your BMW specialist, they're probably not going to recommend you to their Ford friend, but they might recommend you, or more likely to recommend you, to their BMW driving friends. So that makes sense, doesn't it? So next thing I'm going to discuss is how, and to give you some examples of how you can use word of mouth marketing. So believe it or not, there are two types of word of mouth marketing that you can do. There is sort of rewarded word of mouth marketing and people who do it without reward. Okay, so the people who do it without any reward, whether that be intrinsic or not, are different to the people who will recommend you for a reward. However, the recommendation still has to come from a great service or product and a positive experience. Otherwise, they won't risk their reputation within their friendship and family groups to recommend you, no matter what the reward is, because I doubt whether the reward will be significant. So a typical way to use word of mouth marketing is to ask your existing customer to recommend you, because you're probably going to get 4 times the return if you ask than if you don't. Marketing research has shown that when you ask for anything, whether it be recommendations or reviews or whatever it is, it goes up by about 4 times if you ask, as opposed to not asking. So, and to, should we say, remove some friction or grease the wheels of that transaction, you may say to that customer, if you recommend a customer, we'll give you something in return, whether that be a discount on your labour rate or whatever it is that you choose to do to sort of encourage, provide a reward for a recommendation. So a great reward recommendation thing that we use here is that everyone gets a keyring with their registration on it. And the reason we use that is obviously so we can find out whose keys belong to what car. But we use two. So we put two key rings on. And what we ask customers to do is to say, look, if you're really impressed with what we've done and you want to tell someone, instead of just telling them, can you do me a favour? Can you just give them this key ring with your registration number on? And when they arrive and they say, oh, look, and we ask them, how did you find out about us? You're a new customer. And they say, oh, I've got this key ring. It was given to me by Fred up the road. Your registration will be on that key ring, which means we know who recommended that customer. So we can provide that customer with a reward, whatever it is. Now, the garage that told me about this asks their customers whether they want a bottle of red or white wine when they get a keyring. They phone them up and say, thank you very much for that referral. Do you prefer red or white wine? And then they send them a bottle. And it's as simple as that. Whether the customer knows they're going to get the bottle of wine before the referral doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. Say, look, if you refer someone, you could have a chance of getting a bottle of wine. Whether you tell them or not, that surprise that you remember the end, you phone them up and you give them it. What does it that do you reckon that does to that person the first time they get a bottle of wine? They're probably going to ask you for another bloody keyring because they want to give somebody else that. But it does require that trust in your service and that positive experience. It's so important to get that bit right for word of mouth marketing to work. So other ways of doing it, get involved in local community projects. It sounds so simple, but if there's something going on, make sure your business is involved in it. If you can lend a hand to small community projects, it makes people talk about you. It's really, really easy. The other thing that's bound to make customers always talk about you and what happens is if you make that experience special. And what I mean by this is garages are notoriously bad at sort of not delivering cars on time, or hidden charges come along, or it being more expensive than you first said because things have gone wrong, stud snapped, whatever it is. Customers dread all that. So always under promise and over deliver because they're expecting the opposite, and that will make your service stand out to anyone else. So we've got a little bit of time, so what I'm going to go into now is my little bit of a bonus content, if you like, and it's how to 5x your word of mouth marketing impact. Okay, so this is the second reason really why word of mouth marketing is so important. If you've absolutely nailed your word of mouth marketing and you're getting lots and lots of recommendations, but low tech recommendations, if you then employ social media to do the same thing, you can 5x, you can get 5 times the impact by using social media. So the really important thing about your word of mouth marketing, if you focus on word of mouth marketing, which is essentially free, and you get it really, really well, and you get that sort of really well nailed customer service, a positive experience, asking to be referred, and then you change that into asking for reviews, or you change the question to, can you mention us on social media if you see something we post? If we put a picture of what we've done for you, can you? And they start to like, share your posts, and they start to what they call user-generated content. So it's not you saying it, it's the actual customer saying, I had a fab experience here and that comes across and it reaches more and more people, because who sees their feed? All of their friends. So hope this little short video on word of mouth marketing has been some benefit to you, and that you understand the importance of word of mouth marketing, the 3 benefits of word of mouth marketing, and a couple of different ways in which you can use word of mouth marketing in your business, both free and for reward. I've been Andy Crook. Hopefully you found this enjoyable. Thank you.